What's good YouTube, it's Adam from I'm a Music Mogul and welcome to another video. Today we're gonna do like a little bit of a throwback remake, a record off of one of my most favorite albums of all time, Kanye West's track Flashing Lights. So let's get straight to it. First things first, we're gonna change our tempo to 90.5 beats per minute. And we're gonna start off with the intro bit, and we're gonna bring in an orchestral strings here. Strings, and we're gonna go to full strings. And let's start off, it is an 8-bar pattern for the intro, but we'll just work on the first 4 bars. And it's gonna go something like this. All right, now let's start building out those chords. All right, let's work on the second set here. All right, so there's the first 4 bars. Dun, 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 and then we're gonna go up here. So let's work on our bass notes once again for the next 4 bars. Oh. All right, so it's gonna be like a really long sustained note here. It's gonna go something like this. Work on the last chord here. And then we sort of have like a build up here. All right, so here is our full pattern over here. that last couple notes is off here. I think this goes here. All right, that sounds better. All right, so next let's go ahead and create another software instrument track. I'm gonna start layering up this string so it sounds nice and full. Let's go over to our browser tool, and we're gonna go to orchestral strings, and we're gonna go to modern strings. Let's go ahead and duplicate this down, and just gonna fill out this string pattern here. On this first one here, I'm just going to go ahead and pull up the reverb a bit. Now, because the one in the original track had sort of like this old timely sort of strings to it, we're going to create another software instrument track, and we're going to duplicate this pattern once again. But we're going to bring in Logic's Mellotron, and we're going to get those old timely string sounds from this plugin here. We're only going to be using sound A on the 3 violins. So it gives us that old timely sound. Now we got a nice full orchestral section. This sort of old timely strings really helps bring it out. So here was our first one. Second one. All right, next let's go and create a new software instrument track, and we got to bring in some of those basses. We're going to open up our browser tool once again. We're going to go to Legacy. We're going to go to Jam Pack Symphony Orchestra. We're going to go to Strings, and then we're going to go to Extra Bass Section Legato, this one right over here. And we're going to go ahead and draw in that pattern. Go down to a nice low octave, and maybe we'll just duplicate that over 2 octaves. So it's going to go something like this. Let's just zoom in on here. So for these two, we're going to bring it down. We're going to bring these down. We're going to copy these over. Oh. Copy these over. We'll just bring these down here. All right, so it's going to go something like this. All right, next let's go over to our next pattern, or the next 4 bars. Copy this over here. Copy this over once again. Copy this over, and then we're going to layer this up on an octave higher. that over. Let's layer that bass again there. And I think these two come out. And here is our whole pattern. To make this more impactful, I'm going to do another layer here. Just going to bring that up. All right, there it is right there. Now we got to add in those plucks synths that happen throughout this intro bit. So I'm going to create a new softer instrument track. All right, so for this sound, we're going to go ahead and bring in Logic's retro synth. And we're just going to use oscillator 2 here, bring that all the way down. We'll come back and adjust this in a moment. Let's just go ahead and draw in the pattern first. It starts off at bar 4. You're going to hit right here. Let's bring that up though. Just a quick pluck. And then we get another pluck here, but I'm going to paint in 30-second notes here. And it's going to go something like this. No. And that's going to do another little crazy thing here. Get another hit over here. All right, so it sounds something like this. All right, next let's go ahead and just focus in on this sound here. We're gonna open up Logic's retro synth and let's go ahead and just manipulate this a little bit. So for the cutoff, we're gonna bring it down a little bit. Pull up some resonance here. I'm gonna bring in some chorus. Let's make the mix about 50% and we'll leave the rate as is. Let's bring up the volume so it's a little louder. All right, so I think that's okay just like that. Now let's go ahead and add in some effects here. I'm gonna go ahead and bring in a delay Logic's echo. And we're gonna use the note here. Bring back the feedback to about 80%, dry 100. Bring this down to about 45%. I'm going to make this nice and wide. I'm going to bring in logic sample delay. And we're going to delay one channel. We'll make this really wide. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and bring in some reverb, Logic Space Designer. Let's go to a preset we like to use. Let's bring down the wet value. And now this is what it sounds like. We'll start off from bar 4. All right, lastly, I'm just going to go ahead and create another softer instrument track here. And I'm just going to pull out this last string section. Really make that sort of like a different crescendo into our verse or pre-chorus, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to go ahead and go over to our browser tool. We're going to go once again to orchestral strings, and we're going to go over to string ensemble. And I'm just going to copy down this pattern here, but I'm going to just focus in on these notes here at the end. I'm just going to layer this up 1 octave. You get a higher octave in there, just brings it out a little bit better. All right, now let's play out that intro bit, and then we're going to move on to the next pattern. All right, then we go on into the flashing lights. All right, next let's go ahead and work on our next section here. We're just going to go ahead and draw out the next set of chords here. It's going to go something like this. Go back to our pencil tool. All right, so I just dragged this note to be a little bit shorter so it doesn't drag out the whole thing, sounds a little bit better. Next, let's go ahead and add in some bass here. We're going to create a new softer instrument track. And we're going to go over to our browser tool. We're going to go over to bass, and we're going to go to a Liverpool bass. And we're going to copy down this pattern here, but we're going to take out the top notes and just use our bass pattern here. And I'm just going to open up an EQ here, and I'm just going to take out some of the low end here, because we're going to bring in a sub bass after this to really fill out the sub. I'm going to take out some top end here as well. All right, so there's that bass over there. Next, let's go ahead and create a new software instrument track. And like I said, we're going to bring in a sub bass here. We'll bring in, let's go over to instruments. We'll bring in Logic's ES1 synthesizer. We'll go to synth bass, deep bass. If you're looking just for a nice clean sub bass, this is the preset to use 100%. Let's bring this down. So I'm going to push this down 1 octave. If you're wearing headphones, you're going to hear this, or if you have a sub, you'll feel it. You'll have a nice low subtone. I'm just going to bring in my EQ, and I'm just going to cut out a lot of the top end. I don't want that buzziness. Just want to focus in on that sub frequencies. And let our Liverpool bass be sort of the top end of that bass. So if I take away that deep bass, you'll see that you're missing a lot of that girth or fullness to the bass sound. Now it's full, now it's not. Just a little trick if you want to fill out your track, that's a nice way to do it if you're not working with like an 808 or something like that, as long as it doesn't clash. All right, now let's go ahead and work on the drums. Bring in a new software instrument track. We'll bring in Logic's EXS24 sampler instrument. And let's go ahead and bring in the flashing lights drum kit. Make it nice and loud. And let's start off with that clap. It's gonna go on the 2s and 4s. I'm just going to go ahead and bring in some reverb here. We're going to go ahead and bring in a medium plate, and we'll use the tablet plate. I could use a little bit more reverb than that. All right, next let's go and duplicate that track, take out the reverb, and let's bring in our kick. Kick is gonna go on the 1s. Let's just duplicate that. And normally I don't do this, but in this track it sounded like there was some reverb on it, so we're gonna add in some reverb on this. All right, next let's go ahead and duplicate this track once again. I'm going to add in another hi-hat on top of this kick. Right there. But it's going to be quiet in the background. All right, next we'll go duplicate this track once again. And let's go ahead and draw in those transition claps. So it's gonna happen at the last 2 bars here. Make this louder. Alright, so for this sound, we're going to make it wide. We're going to go to Logic Sample Delay and just sample delay one side. And we're going to add in some reverb as well. Alright, so there's our pattern right there. And then of course, or we could take a listen to it now, and then we're going to go into that sort of gated synth sound. Alright, so what comes over here is the drums, of course. And we're going to create a new softer instrument track. And we're going to work on that gated sound. We're going to go ahead to bring in Logic's retro synth once again. And we're going to work on a preset here, a synth lead. We're going to use the dance basic lead here. We'll come back, adjust that in a moment. Let's just design this sound, or sorry, draw on the pattern. Layer this note here. All right, and then that, and then that just repeats itself. Where are we? Over there. Just duplicate that over. All right, let's go ahead and open up our retro synth and just make this sound more like the one in the track itself. Just gonna bring up the volume here to about unity. And for the attack, because I don't want it so plucky, I want it to sound like it's like gated and going back and forth. We're gonna pull up the attack. The decay, I'm gonna go ahead and pull back here quite a bit. The sustain, I'm gonna pull down. All right, next let's go ahead and bring in some EQ. I'm going to cut out some of the low end. I'm just going to pull up in this section right here to bring out the synth sound a bit. I'm going to take a little bit of the top end out. Next, I'm going to bring in some distortion just to make this sound a little bit thicker, some overdrive. We're going to pull up our tone, and we're not going to drive it too much, just a little touch. All right, next let's go ahead and just make this a little bit wider. We're going to go to Logic Sample Delay. And lastly, let's go ahead and bring in some reverb, Logic Space Designer. And we're going to go ahead and use a medium gated reverb. And I think we're going to use the gated chamber here. Going to pull down our volume here. Maybe I'll add in a little bit of chorus as well just to soften it up. All right, next is going to create a new software instrument track. We're just going to layer up this sound over here. We're going to copy this pattern down. We're going to go to Logic's ES2 synthesizer. If I could find it here. There it is right there. And I'm just going to go ahead and solo this out here. And I'm just going to pitch this up. And we're just going to use one oscillator here, a sawtooth oscillator. And for the attack, I'm just going to go pull it up. And we'll layer that with this one here. So we're going to go out from this. All right, but in this section, there's also a bass pattern as well. So let's go ahead and draw in our bass patterns. We're going to use the same bass as we used over here. It's going to use the Liverpool bass. Let's go ahead and draw in that pattern. It's kind of like a funk bass here, actually. All right, so there's the bass pattern right there. Just gonna go and just stretch this out. And we're just gonna copy that down. It's gonna be the same bass pattern for our deep bass, but of course we gotta go ahead and just bring that down an octave. for our claps, that sort of transition clap, it switches up as well. Alright, and then that's pretty much the song right there, and then these two sections just repeat itself. So we're just going to repeat it twice over. We'll do it 3 times, end off on the strings, and that is the song right there. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Listen to the remix we just put together. Kanye West track, Flashing Lights. Let's go. Alright, so there is the remake right there, Kanye West, Flashing Lights. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this beat remake. For your Logic users out there, I'm going to go ahead and save this entire session for you guys. Place that as a downloadable link in the description box below this video. For your non-Logic users out there, got your back as well. I'm going to go ahead and export all the MIDI stems, audio stems, and of course include the drum sounds, drum kit that we used in this tutorial. You can find that entire playback in the description box below this video. If you do have any questions on this, we can go ahead and talk in the comment section below. And as usual, guys, if you did like this video or enjoyed it, remember thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more great videos like this one. I'll talk to y'all soon. Later. Peace.